All right, we are now live. What's up, everybody? Steven here, the Horror Freak 85. Here once again. It's been a while, but Steve Rimpici, how have you been?
Hello, Stephen. It is great to be back on the House of Horrors podcast. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. So it's terrific. I'm doing great. Keeping busy. Did a couple things with Carousel 3 and with Shingles and a few other little things here and there. So been keeping busy, as I hear you are keeping busy as well. You're like the star of like 12 films now or something like that, I'm hearing. So
Yeah,
that's good.
I'll be leaving after the show tonight, so heading to Orlando, go to Texas to be a part of Will Colazzo and Sterling Entertainment Camp Blood 9, which is actually
very good.
Like the 13th in the series, I believe, though, because there's also like Children of Camp Blood. There's like different numbers, and so. But
counting is hard when you run out of fingers, so that 9 is fine. So it's all good.
So yeah, it's a really good script. It's funny. So I got some good scenes in there. Don't want to say too much, but I'm like play the director of like a prank show, and there's these rocker chicks that are there that are going to do a show, and of course, people pretending to be the clown really shows up, and all that good old stuff.
Very good. Very good. And hilarity ensues.
So there's some, I got a really funny scene, so I can't wait for people to see it. It's, you got that juvenile type of humor, you'll love it. So.
Well, look, that's, exactly. I mean, I know what a serious dramatic piece Carousel 3 was. So,
of course.
But I can, I can appreciate a comic thing every now and then. But yes. So.
Of course. I mean, okay, or we should say Carousel, of course.
Exactly. But
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, everything's going well here. We're having a good time with everything, so it's all good. And by the way, my name there is because you recently had on the god who is Steve Rudzinski.
Yes.
Who had himself listed as Steve Too Handsome Rudzinski. So not that there would be any confusion, and nor do I want to take away his title of Too Handsome. That is why I am Steve Not Too Handsome Rimpici, because I would never want to encroach anywhere on the beauteous visage that is Mr. Rudzinski, actually. And he is a hell of a lot more handsome than I am. So anyway, that's where that came from, in case anybody was wondering. So.
That's right. Maybe later on, when I was thinking about maybe doing a Shingles panel in the future or something, have all you on.
Yeah,
we'll have 3 Steves on. Me, you, and Steve. It's like
it just means it's a name for talented people. That's all it is. So that's a good thing. So
that's of course. And anyone who's watching on Facebook, if they leave a comment or if you want to have your name on there, just click on approval, because I'm dual streaming on YouTube and Facebook. So that way.
All right. We're fancy now.
That'll pop up there. And my mom stopped by again, of course.
Hi, Mom.
So, but yeah, you've did. So how was it? You got involved with Shingles. I mean, of course, Steve worked with it, and so I guess did you audition for it, or he just had you in mind? And
he had me in mind for a couple things. I've told Steve, look, any production he's a part of, look, if you could throw me in, that's fine. If you need, the sound of a weird dog in the background or something, whatever you need, I'll have fun with it. But he called, he said he was doing this. It was a very different job for him because he was handling somebody else's work. So he was directing for these other people for a product that had already been written. Hello. So from that perspective, he had to work within their scripts and then kind of make it his own, which he did and did great at. And so there were a couple of parts that obviously needed voiceover. Because you have the gnome, you've got Sloppy, and you've got a couple of others, whereas everybody else was an in-person actor, so it wasn't there wasn't a need for a lot of that. But they were kind enough to ask me to throw a couple voices together, and I gave him a couple of tries. One which was I saw he had a monocle in the picture, and it was listed as I think originally like Lieutenant Sloppy or something like that. So I thought it was supposed to be British. So I did kind of a Britishy thing, and then we did some other stuff. And then I said, here's a third one that's just kind of over the top. and and that's where he came from up here. He's that type of a thing. And so it was and they liked that one. So they said, okay, great. So and that's where that came from. So but that was a fun project. That was it was a good script to play off of. There was a lot of gags that were in there, and a lot of gags that Sloppy himself needed to laugh at and emote with. So it's always fun to do voices that way. Instead of just a straight read, you could just have fun and be silly.
Mm-hmm. And like I had mentioned, there go the dogs. That's nice.
Yes, I apologize for our 6,384,000 viewers out there. I apologize for the dogs barking in the background. Those are the hounds from hell that are making themselves known. So I apologize if you hear that in the background every now and then.
What kind of dogs did you have again? I forgot.
I've got two dogs. I have a Shih Tzu Poodle and a Havanese Bichon, which are 30 and 20 pounds respectively. And the little one thinks that she's, a Great Dane that can just go out and beat up everybody. So she yaps a bit, but hopefully they'll be good. So I spike their treats, so hopefully they'll stay quiet. But that's
what was it? Something about Mary. That's what it was. Like, he's never fallen asleep, and he put the pill in. Like, he closed up his arms.
Benadryl is a parent's best friend. It doesn't matter if it's children or pets, but Benadryl works really, really well on that. That's
not so bad.
So okay, no, be nice. Don't do that.
I kind of off topic here, but have you seen the trailer for Strays? The dogs, that Will Ferrell.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Oh my gosh, it's like an adult comedy of talking dogs, and I forget who else does the voice, but the one dog's drunk there. Well, he's like, "Yo, what you looking at? What the fuck you look at?" And he's like drunk in the mirror, and they get high on mushrooms. Like, "Oh, I feel weird." He's like, "Is there something wrong with my human hands?" And they're like all hallucinating. They eat mushrooms, and it's just like a crazy.
So wait a minute, you're telling me that this is Will Ferrell who is doing this?
He's doing the voice of a dog that he thinks his owner plays this game called Fetch and Fuck, that he goes and finds, like, he takes him miles away. He's trying to get rid of him, and he brings him back. Shit. So then he realized that he's estrayed by the other dogs, tell him what happened. So he's all mad, and he wants to go back home and bite his dick off. That's like his goal for dropping him off, because he thought he loved him and he didn't. And just, yeah.
So a Will Ferrell weird comedy with drugs and sex jokes and things like that. I don't believe
dogs,
it. No,
but they're all dogs, though. That's what's funny. But yeah, I'll send you the trailer later.
I'll have to take a look at it. It's that's just when I watch films, I always do the skip things on it. That's why I have to start watching some of these things. So
very you should have a voice for an animal sometime. Well, besides Duke, of course. Yeah.
Well, of course, that's yes. So, but and speaking of, Carousel 3 is it's a perfect trilogy that Steve and Aileen put together. Really just wonderful the way they wrote everything, wonderful the way they tied everything together. You have legitimate character arcs that go through the trilogy. It's not just, slasher film 1 and then slasher film 2 has 3 times the kills, and it's the same thing over and over again, repetitive. He actually mixed it up and made it into a real trilogy with how these characters grow, what happens when you go from being the misunderstood yet very handsome sort of anti-hero of the first film into dad mode in the second one, and then in the third one it's all about uncovering the origins and finding out who you really are. And so a heartwarming trilogy if I have ever seen one. So that's where we are.
Yeah, it was quite a twist to see how he changed over the course from the first one, just wanting to kill, and how he grown, and once he had Robbie and everything, and it was interesting. So.
Absolutely. And then the third one, Usagi, who is the main baddie, voiced very well by Autumn Ivy, is kind of really the star from that perspective of just this killing machine. Which I will say though, Duke did not have a sex scene in this one. I got the other two, but Usagi got it on this one. So
He's trying to be a good example for his son. No more threesomes.
Well, you know, it's fine. These were all consensual, though. That's it, and you know, so that's we try to keep all of that straight ahead here. But yeah, it's nice to see care and that level of thought put into a film, and that so you don't have to have most of these huge films don't have a lot of thought put into them anymore. That have $300 million budgets. It doesn't seem they think about anything anymore. But the independent ones, it's that's where you can really see the love on screen of what it is. And I don't care what film it is, whether it was one I've been in or the countless others that are out there where folks are putting in their own money, or fans who have given money in to crowd fund these things, and that shows, and that's great. That's what entertainment is supposed to be. It's kind of that give and take with the audience, and you want to give them what they want, but at the same time, you want to help them see more of what the characters can be, and they were able to do that in Carousel, which is terrific.
Yeah. Hopefully there'll be another one. It's funny when I don't know if you had watched the one with Steve or not, but he was like, I have no shame. I'll do 20 of them. He's like, if there's a story to it, and spend all.
I've told him I'll be in all of them. So that's and he throws some jokes in there because Robbie talks about doing stuff, and do you ever think we'll be in space? And Duke says, well, that would be very expensive to do, and
and then if the budget allows,
exactly. So it's and that's really what it comes down to. So I have no doubt if $1 million falls into Steve's lap tomorrow, well then hopefully we'll be doing
do some spin-offs.
We'll be on Carousel 25, and it'll be I'll see you in hell. That's and Duke will just be paint chipping here and there, and it'll be a little worse for wear. But it's I was gonna fight you, but no, isn't it? So it's
his voice will be a little hoarse.
Oh, and that's why you're starring in your own movies now. See that?
Exactly. Well, like Steve's jokes in Shingles with the same episode. What was the talking? Your hand up my ass, or
put your hand up my ass. That's
what it was.
Shakespearean quote originally. So, but yes, that's
yeah. It almost reminded me. Also, I've said this before, like a Goosebumps and Slappy, and the voice of that, of course, was different, but a little high pitched. Reminded me of Slappy a little bit. Well, Slappy. So, who I haven't read the books yet, but I definitely like to read the stories of Shingles because that seemed like they got some good ones there. So.
It's and apparently I haven't read them either yet, but I think there was something like 10 stories or so in the first book, and they couldn't budget or do that with the film, so they did that. Hello, popping the popcorn.
Hey,
but yeah, there's plenty more material there to do if everybody's willing to do that. I'm happy to throw my voice wherever they want me, so that's fine. So. I have no shame either. So
exactly, none of us have any shame. We're just like whatever. We're down for it all. So in either Carousel 3, I know Steve was just pretty much directing on that one. But for any of the dialogue, did you improv anything on either of the movies? Stuck with there?
I throw in stuff, So typically, what I'll do is I'll do one as written. So that you've got the take as written, and then and a couple of takes of that as written with different inflections and things, so that they can get that. And then if it lends to it, I'll throw something in there, to ad lib if I think something is really funny or not, or at least I'm laughing at it. And sometimes they'll keep a line in there, and sometimes they won't. I had in Carousel 2, during the sex scene, I had put together a take. Now, I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan. So in Young Frankenstein, there's a scene where the monster comes up to Madeline Kahn, and he's about to go out. She breaks into song. So so during that sex scene, the door is closed. You don't see much going on. You just hear stuff. So I gave him a take, which was, with Duke kind of surprised that they say, well, does that go? Can you what? Oh, sweet mystery of life! At last I found you. And and I thought that was hysterical in my own mind, and but you can't use that because of copyright reasons. They were concerned. Now the song is 100 years old, but it's still, you're worried about throwing music into anything like that, so they could not use that. But there's other stuff that I'll throw in things here and there, and if they use them, great. And if not, that's it. Like I said, I'm here to make me laugh just as much as everybody else. So I have a good time with all that stuff.
Yeah, it is fun. I was lucky enough when we filmed The Stalking, some partygoers were being insulted. And about one of the costumes, I told the co-star, I was like, hey, you should say this. And she's like, that's funny. I'm going to use that. So she used my line in the movie for the insult. So
that's great. That's terrific.
It's always fun to improv. It's always fun to improv. So if it's allowed, of course, because I understand it's, a script and they want to stick to it, but it's great to have fun where you're able to play with certain things or add or, so.
Right. And a good director will see how the actors and what's going on the scene, and they'll let you play if it's appropriate. And especially if you're doing comedy. Again, you're not sitting there doing this, hard drama and stuff like this. It's you're doing comedy. If somebody throws out a joke and it's funny, well, okay, good, use it. It's that type of thing. So, but yes, always give them what they ask for first,
of course.
and then you can go and play on the next couple of takes and see what happens. So, but yes, everybody wants to be Robin Williams, but there's only one Robin Williams, but
rest in peace, man. I heard that they were going to do a second. Chris Columbus had a Mrs. Doubtfire 2 script ready too, but unfortunately,
I don't doubt that.
They're not making that now, or they better not, because that would be an insult to him. His family. I mean, there's no way.
Yeah, there's just things like that really should not be redone, and there's a lot of that about in a whole bunch of things. But yeah, just hopefully they leave that alone. I think that would be the best thing. Yeah. So I'm sorry about that in the background again. So. It's because the dog in another part of the building is also barking, and so they're speaking to each other. So, but anyway,
just like 101 Dalmatians. They're all
I got 2. That's enough. I don't need 101. So that's
how it goes from like building to building. They're all talking to each other.
And it's probably a Will Ferrell script of what they're saying. So it's probably better.
It is.
Probably better. I don't know. So.
It's like, this is a family show.
Exactly.
Well, if you're a horror fan, you should know what you're getting into here. So.
Well, yes, that's true. That's true. See, I can say things like Fargan Icehole and Mother Trucker and stuff like that. So,
watch your mouth.
Exactly. So, yes, and for those of you who are old enough, you recognize that from Johnny Dangerously, which you all should watch. It's a very underrated film. It was very good.
I too like to live dangerously.
That's.
So anything besides Carousel and Shingles that you're able to talk about, or still under wraps, working on anything, or what's going on?
For the most part, film wise, it's other than that, not too much. I've done a few other things for Audible. I do audiobooks for Audible, some of which I've done my own things where it's just me doing the narration. Others, it's part of a group, and so the guys at Audible like to also bring me in when they can as kind of background filler every now and then. So I'm in a lot of audiobooks. It's just I'm the random characters in the background that may have a line or two here or a line or two there, and throw that type of stuff in because they know I can do a lot of different voices with stuff. And again, it's usually something that's either very light or a comic video game or something that they're doing on there. So they just had me in recently again, and which I probably did 3 or 4 or 5 characters for them that just appear at different points in the story. And it doesn't have to be, it's just, it's some random guy who has, 2 lines who needs to say something, or somebody else who needs to grunt a certain way or whatever it may be. So not necessarily big parts in those. And then in others, they'll work the whole thing, or I'll be one of a multicast of, let's say, between 6 and 10 people. And I'll have a couple of parts in that, or one main part, or something like that. But those are fun to do. Also, those are a lot of fun to do. And the Audible Studios, they're in Newark, New Jersey. It's Audible, and they have like one of the most secure buildings I have ever seen in my life. I mean, it's guards, it's detectors, it's security everywhere when you go into this building. And I have no idea why, but it's just very, very safe when you have to go in there and record. But they're terrific people too, and those are a lot of fun to do. Also, those are a lot of fun because again, it's just we'll throw this at you and see what it is, and they'll, depending upon what it is, they'll let me ad lib. They brought me in because I originally did a short for a director who was doing a short called The Mild West, which was about a cowboy and his sidekick who was a cactus. And of course, I was the cactus. And so he went on to do bigger and better things, and eventually wound up at Audible. And so, hey, I'm doing this. Can you come in and do a couple of things for us? And so I auditioned for them, and have done now, however many productions with them and stuff. But those are fun to do also. The ad lib I did, they had me, I was like a disgruntled guy who was running a storage facility. And he was, a gruff New Yorker. And, so he's trying to collect the rent, and he has like 3 lines, but he's just upset about things. And it's like, well, so, it's, unit 42, I need to get the rent, or you're late again, and all this stuff. And so, and then you throw in stuff, it's just, as you're walking away, should have listened to my mother. She said to be a plumber, but, no, I had to be the smart guy and look at that. So you could throw things like in there, and they'll let you play and stuff like that. But outside of that, no, I haven't been doing too much. There's been a few nibbles from a couple of places, folks talking to me about different things that they're looking for. Again, with Carousel 3 and with Shingles both coming out, that's been great for me. So it's acting for me is more of a paying hobby than it is a full-time gig. So because of that, I'm and I'm old, so it's I'm not reliant on that for my income or to pay the rent, and so I don't have to be out there scrounging every day to try to find something. It's usually okay. I know some people, and they're having they're going to make a fun project. What is it that you'd like to do, and can I be a part of it? And that's usually it's more to have fun and to play than anything else.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's definitely is fun. I must agree on that.
Yeah.
Is there any character that you have in mind that you would like to portray and haven't yet?
If I could wave a magic wand and be in a series, honestly, I'd probably want to be in a preschool show. So it would be, I think, a lot of fun to be in, a show like Bluey or Blue's Clues or any of those types of kids shows, because as sappy as it sounds, then you get all these little kids who grow up loving your character and loving who you are. Outside of that, I would love to act in in the old style Star Trek stuff. Not I will be controversial here and say I am not a fan of the new Star Trek stuff, but I'd have fun, doing any of that type of stuff. But it's, as far as characters are concerned, whether it's an original one that comes out of the blue like Duke, or if it's a take on an existing character or an existing type of character, have fun with it. And again, it doesn't always have to make sense. I mean, if you could have, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, it's, you can. You could do a lot with anybody who's out there. So that's it's just hook it up with the right creative people, and then figure it out. All right, well, can you make a go of it? Does it make sense from a business perspective to actually put it together? Or if it's just something you're throwing together in your backyard and don't really care, then great, go ahead and do it and have some fun. Make films. That's what independent cinema is all about, is just produce the content that you enjoy. And you know what? It'll find an audience. There's always an audience out there for whatever it is that you're doing. It's not everything is to everybody's tastes, nor should it be. But you'll find your niche, no matter how weird that niche may be. There's going to be something out there, and no matter if you're thinking about making films or being in films, no matter how weird you think your production is going to be, there's already got to be somebody out there who's weirder. So just go ahead and put it together and see what happens, and above all, have fun with it all. That's really the key to all this stuff.
Yeah. Since you've done so many voices and all, and for each character, how challenging is it to like think of a new voice for that character?
It's for me, I typically go with the first blush, although I didn't on Sloppy, but it helps a lot to have a picture that's beside, if you have a picture, you can get a sense a little bit of what the character is and what you think that voice is going to sound like. Now, if I were to look at the skeleton that's over your shoulder, okay, who's kind of looking at the side of your head, yeah, there you go. That skeleton that's right there that's looking at you, so if you look at him, what do you think he sounds like? So he could be, you could do a stereotypical, well, he could be a really spooky voice and try to be something sillier over the top there. Or he could, you could turn him around and just be something like, hey, you. Yeah, I'm a skeleton. It's a little cold out here. Can you help a guy out and put a sweater on me? They give kind of a sloppy voice up there. Or you can do something
like
totally
teeth clicking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could do it. He could just, be really creepy and, come up and, you look really pretty right now. I'd like to jump your bones, So I mean, so it's again, you can have fun or make it as weird as you want it to make it. The key thing with voices is be okay with looking stupid. So if you're and that goes at acting in general for comedy. So if you're okay with looking the fool, then good. Be fearless. Go ahead and do all that type of stuff. But typically, if you've got a picture that you can work off of, for me anyway, that helps a lot. And then if they've got, a character chart, this guy, he's from this area, he's Russian, he's French, he's whatever he may be. He's an old guy, he's a young guy, he's, it may be. Once you get a description and you can see a picture, you'll usually hear a voice in your head. One of the weirdest things, if you're reading comic books or you're, even reading comics nobody reads comics in the papers anymore, but if you're reading something or reading a book, you're going to hear a voice in your head that you're going to associate with the character. And if all of a sudden, like, they put a special on TV making this character and the voice is nothing like you pictured, you think it's weird. Because everybody comes up with their own sound of what it's supposed to be. But having a picture, having the descriptions, that's usually what it is. And then in an audition, I'll give them, a few different styles and a few different takes. And it's usually one that is very different than the other so that they can see a range and understand where it is.
I don't know if I've asked in the past show or if people who are now joining in, but did you ever take like any voice classes or vocals or anything to practice your voice?
I'll give you the Steve Rimpici acting tour of life that I went through. So I got involved in voice acting. I've been in sales all my life, so I have always played for an audience. It's just always been in a business setting. So I've done, presentations in front of, 1,500 people as a sales presentation. I've done, board meetings. I've done all kinds of things where I've got to pitch an idea. Well, that's acting. Acting's the same thing. I'm selling you on a character. I want you to believe I am who I say that I am through what I'm presenting to you. And what I'm presenting to you is how I look, how I sound, and all that. That's acting and sales are really two sides of the same coin. So I've always been a bit of a showman when it comes to that type of thing. And my daughter was a competitive gymnast. And so, all the parents have to volunteer and stuff. And so one time there was a guy who was a very nice man, but he was doing the announcing. And so he would do the announcing and, he a very nice guy, but a very meek voice. So he'd speak into the microphone and welcome everybody to come to, and so while he did the first bit of it, and then when it came time to give out the awards, I said, do you mind if I take a crack at this? So she said, sure. So, I grabbed the microphone and, let's get ready to tumble and, have a good time. And so, really went out there with this, and the kids loved it because everybody's laughing. And eventually I had a bunch of people come up to me and say, hey, you know what? You should think about doing this professionally, because I added music and a shtick and eventually did all kinds of stuff with it. And then I did a lot of work, like I mentioned, the last guy who was doing Mild West and is now at Olival. I did a lot of work for the kids at NYU. The NYU acting program, you had to do one voice production. So Craigslist, they were always happy to have somebody who was over 30 that they could talk to. And so, and work for free. So I went in and did a bunch of stuff for those kids. And a lot of them went on to be directing other feature films and things like that. And so just enjoyed it. And I took some acting classes. I got a professional demo done at Edge Studios. I did take a couple of acting classes with Rob Paulson. Rob is the voice of Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. He's Yakko from the Animaniacs. He's so 1,000 other characters. He was 2 Ninja Turtles, depending upon which years, and a lot of other stuff. So we had a couple of sessions together, and he's great. He's such a nice guy. He really is a very, very nice guy. And his thing for me at that point was like, okay, well, what do you want to do with all of this? And I said, what do you mean? He's like, do you want to make a career of this? He's like, he said, I can set you up. I can get you in. I can get you auditions, and we can get you on a cartoon. I said, that's great. He's like, good. When are you coming to LA? Now I'm in New York. Now at that point, I've got a couple of little kids and stuff like that. So I'm not 18 years old who can just pack up and head across country. So I said, look, I really can't do that. And he said, well, he's like, that's the first thing any agent out here is going to ask is, when are you coming to LA? So I said, well, then I'll just hone the craft as best I can to learn what it is, what I need to do, so that I'm, comfortable with whatever the production is. And go from there. But it really comes down to understanding acting. I mean, you're doing it now. So there's a vocabulary to all of the stuff. You have to know what different things mean. You have to know what it is to stand. So when you're in a scene, but you're in the background and you're, in camera view, what do you do? People don't think about that. It doesn't come natural to folks. Well, do you just stand there? Are you supposed to move your lips and not talk? Are you, what are you supposed to do on set? And it's the same thing when you're doing voice acting as well. It's, how do you portray certain things? So I've done, a couple of video games and a couple of dubs on cartoons and stuff. And so how do you run with your voice? Okay, well, you're about to charge into battle. So what happens when you charge into battle? Well, if all you're using is your voice, do you just yell, ah? No, because it sounds silly. So how do you run with your voice? You have to go 1 foot at a time. That's running. And so you have to learn these different types of things, and with the vocabulary as well. So if somebody says, well, I need you to give me 30 seconds of walla. Like, well, what the hell is walla? Okay, well, you learn that walla is when you are listening to stuff and you are in a crowded restaurant. There's all the background noise of all the other conversations that are going on. That background noise that is supposed to be there but not paid attention to is walla. So 30 seconds of walla would just be, going up and softly talking into the mic. Oh, yes, this is very, very nice. And oh, isn't this lovely? And okay, we can just keep talking and rambling on about things, because then you just have constant voices in the background that then they can mix in and do other things too as well. So there's a lot of stuff like that you have to learn how to do, but you'll get there. You'll get there. So, but that's that part of the fun of all of this is learning and seeing what it is. I listen to some of my old stuff that I used to do and think, yeah, I probably could do better now, but that's okay.
Yep. So before you got in that, let's go back a little bit too. When you were growing up, what other shows and cartoons or anything inspired you along the way?
When I was a kid, so we watched Tom and Jerry, and then we watched all the old Warner Brothers cartoons. So
Yeah.
exactly. So, but I can remember as a kid, watching the credits, and it would say voice characterizations Mel Blanc, and I would think to myself, well, what does that mean? Where's the rest of the voices? And it wasn't until I was an adult that it was no one guy, Mel Blanc, was providing every voice you ever heard in the Warner Brothers cartoons. So yes, he's Bugs Bunny, he's Daffy, he's Porky Pig, he's Yosemite Sam, he's Foghorn Leghorn, he's everybody. It's just this one guy who could do all of this, and I always thought that was amazing. And so growing up, I would do silly voices in Hello Waffles. So I would. I'd see that type of stuff, and in school I would do silly voices, and whether it's here in New York again, so it's the old Jewish man is a very, very popular voice that you can do because there's a lot you can do with this, and so it's and coming from a 12-year-old, there's a little more humor in that. Now I look like an old Jewish man, so. But it's so you can do lots of silly voices and stuff, and I had a good time, both with teachers and with my friends doing all of the silly kind of voices. And then from there it was okay. Well, what else do you do with that? So yeah, okay, you read to the kids funny, you read to other kids funny, and then if you're lucky enough, you get into other films and stuff like that, and have a good time with it.
Pretty much same thing in school. Like I would always enjoy reading the plays whenever out of the books where they had different stories and plays and everything, just random stuff. Like they would always put me as either the narrator or someone with the biggest part because everybody hated reading it out loud except me. I was like, I'm all about it. I'll read every part. There was, let's see, I did the, what was it? The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And we actually read that. So I did like the whole narration part, and then I forget. I was one of the characters on the street. I forget which one now, but I wanted to do like the Twilight Zone voice and stuff, narration. And it was
Rod Serling, absolutely.
Yeah, Serling, yeah. So, but yeah, so I always had a good time with that and doing whatever I could and just being silly and random, just how I am, whatever. So.
Yeah, but and that's great. And I mean, if you look at a lot of the comedic actors, and certainly on the voice side, it's it's the same thing. They'll say, well, yeah, I'm getting paid now for the stuff that got me in trouble when I was in 7th grade. It's, that's yes, that's what it's all about. And you can have, depending on the production too, they'd bring in people. So I mean, back in the 30s and 40s, you had some of the old Disney cartoons where they would have a chicken singing opera or something like that. They brought in real opera singers, who were well known at the time to be an opera singing chicken, and stuff like that. So it's good that you can bring in the talent and also have the talent appreciate what's ultimately showing up on screen as well, and doing all that too. But yeah, again, I say this on every interview, but it all comes down to fun. If you are not enjoying it, if you're not having fun doing all of this, then what's the point? I don't know of very many independent filmmakers, especially, who all of a sudden walk away, with $1 gazillion. So if you've got enough to pay the rent and you're doing well, then great. But that's also rare. So you have to do it because you really love it and because it's a lot of fun to do. Otherwise, there's not a lot of point in doing it if it's work, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And like speaking of independent work, we were just talking not too long ago about the SAG strike and everything, and all that, the actors and writers and all that, and which sucks. And I mean, I'm for it also, but it's great for independent though because more people. I mean, we'll be putting that out.
Yeah.
More people will be doing that. But yeah, I mean, I do have friends and do know people in SAG, so I mean, definitely support them. Hopefully that'll get settled soon, but. At least independent movies will always have a place. They'll just keep coming. New directors, new ideas. So.
Yeah, you can. I agree with you 100% on that. I mean, the strike. Look, I understand why they're striking, and AI is that's a game changer with a lot of this type of stuff. And so you have to consider that. And I mean, even stuff that you don't think about, like everybody uses Zoom for, for video calls and things like that. If you have video meetings, Zoom put out a change to its terms and conditions that said, okay, we're going to actually record all of the content that you put on and use that to train our AI to recognize things and better their voices. And you can't say no to this. This is, if you're going to use our service, just understand we're going to record and keep everything you do for AI training purposes. And there was a big blow up on that. And they said, no, we're not really going to do that. And it's the same thing you hear from the actors. If all of a sudden, if I've done work and look, we've both done a number of these things and you're the host of your own show. So there's enough of your voice out there where an AI could sample what you've already done. And again, just redo your show. Just redo that. It's Cheetah. Hello, Cheetah. So, that's the thing. And for all I know, you're not even there. I mean, you could be an AI right now and, I'd have absolutely no clue. Oh, sorry. Our overlords are being upset. We can't do that. So I understand why they're doing it, but yes, but in every hardship, there's also an opportunity. So while I think, independent film has always been there, it's always going to be there. And whether it's showing on a screen somewhere or showing here on YouTube or showing, anywhere, there's always going to be a market for that, because you can't, if you're producing a movie that costs $300 million to make, you can't take a lot of chances with that. You have to go with what you think is safe so that you can make money. Whereas, an independent film, okay, well, yeah, let's, make a film about killer donuts. Sure, why not? All right, well, how much is I got $1,000? Yeah, sure, all right, great. And so let's film it in a weekend. Or Steve Rudzinski with his with the films, the Meowie Chronicles that he did. It's inside his house. It was like $500 to make, and he makes a lot of money at it. People love the films.
Yeah. The Meowie films are great. Those are hilarious.
So that's terrific. So there's always going to be a market for those type of things. And yes, you want to make sure you're not doing anything to run afoul of the unions, but at the same time, content is content. You just want to try to make it as best you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, with independent films, of course, the physical releases, either Blu-ray, DVD, and now a lot of stuff is also going to streaming, and there has been some places less physical media. What do you think? Do you think that'll be dying down in the future, and it might be harder, or?
I hope that they keep the physical media going. I know for independent filmmakers, that's a big deal. It's also because movies get changed. So, for instance, if you watch the Carousel films on Tubi, well, they're edited. So you don't know some of my best work. But if you have the physical copies, and not every independent filmmaker has a site like Steve Buster for like Rudzinski has, where all of his films are there.
Links will be minutes later. You can check it out, and Carousel 3 is on there now. So.
Yes. So there's things like that. Not everybody does that, and so yeah, you go out there, you try to sell at the conventions and the shows, and if you can put up a website, that's great, and you try to sell the physical media, but then it's yours. So if the internet goes down, you can still watch a movie, and that's pretty good. Yeah. Exactly. And it's also so I hope they stay, because also look, I don't think they're going to be changing independent films so far to make them more appropriate for quote unquote modern audiences, like the big companies do, where they'll go back and re-edit what they believe is a problematic scene in a Disney film, because the Disney film was made in the 1940s and God forbid somebody was smoking or something back then. So they need to digitally remove the cigarette from the thing. So it's stupidity like that, well, it's not the original film anymore. It's maybe it was important that the character was smoking. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe he was, it's just why do it? It bugs the hell out of me when they do stuff like that. So I'm a big believer in physical media and keep those things. I also am a big believer in keeping digital copies of all of that stuff. So I have, 5 terabyte drives all over the place where I've got tons and tons of movies and different things as well that I'll rip off of what I have on the hard stuff. So just so I have copies everywhere too. So But stay off the high seas, folks, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate how they edit it down on some of the streaming stuff, or later on, it's like, leave it how it's supposed to be. It just pisses me off.
The stupidest one like that I can think of off the top of my head, but it was Spielberg changed E.T. Because in E.T. there was a scene where federal agents, government agents, were coming in to come in and grab the alien and do stuff, and so they had guns drawn. Well, they're federal agents who are licensed to carry firearms. That's what they do. But Spielberg later went back and changed them. He took out all of the guns, and I don't know what the hell he put in, but he took out all of the guns and digitally removed them, and it's just stupid. Disney goes in and on Splash and adds more hair down the back of Daryl Santa's back so you can't see her ass. It's a PG movie. It's okay. You can see a tush. Nobody's gonna go.
And it's crazy. A mermaid too,
and she's got a nice tush. Let people see it.
Let it be.
But but Spielberg has recently come out and said, yeah, that was just a stupid mistake. I really should not touch any of that type of stuff. So who knows? But yes, get the hard copies, and for all the independent, that's how my understanding is. That's where they make the most money. So, streaming, you make a fraction of a penny or whatever it is for every view that you get. Whereas, if I sell you a DVD for $20 that I produced myself and it cost me $10, well, I've made $10. That's, the equivalent of 1,000 people watching my movie on whatever streaming service. So, if you're a supporter of independent films, definitely buy the DVDs, buy the Blu-rays.
Yeah. And what's great too is the Kickstarters and like the perks. If you do contribute to the film, you one of the first ones to get copies of the physical copies. Which is so
I can tell you, hang on, don't mind me reaching around the weird stuff with the
boom.
There we go. Okay,
all three of them. Nice.
The trilogy right there. So yes, it's I am not only the actor, I am also a client. So
you pay for yourself.
That's exactly. So it's but yeah, absolutely support on the physical media stuff. Plus, if you have a podcast, it's really cool to have the whole library behind you of all your discs and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, but this guy wanting to jump my bones here, though. But I don't know.
It's I will say you're looking good, Steve. So that's you're looking good now. As I said, Duke didn't get any in the last film, so yeah, you're looking pretty good there, Steve.
I haven't been with a unicorn yet. I don't know. That could be
can be in hell, but
Duke's a little horny, I guess.
That's it. See that? And I don't think they ever used that joke in the film.
And
I respect Steve for not using that because it was too easy. But that's fine. That's fine.
What was the first one? See You in Hell. He's like, I got to come up with something else. I've said that in the last 10, 15.
That's right. I got to come up with better material. I'd see that it's that type of humor where you can laugh at yourself and laugh at what's going on. Then that's great. It's the folks that take themselves way too seriously, and I don't care if it's an independent film or if it's something that had a 9-figure budget. It's entertainment. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be entertainment, whether it's to make you laugh, it's to make you cry, it's the gamut of emotions, it's whatever it is. Just realize you got people who are paying to take a couple of hours and get away from their normal lives for a little bit to have an experience. So don't kid yourself that you're anything more than that you're pretending. That's what we're all doing in acting. We're pretending. And so be happy with that.
It's funny. Steve was great as the pizza guy. I love the pizza's like, oh, now I know what a pizza feels like. He's like, why is this taking so long?
But I chose a poor weapon, so that came to almost kill me in the end. So you gotta watch out for those types of things on how you work them. But it's again that's part of the character arc, and Steve also throws in stuff in his films. From his other films. So everything is kind of in universe because you'll see, something from one of his other movies. He'll keep things going. If you notice, the pizza place constantly moves up in the ranks as he goes from movie to movie. So it's stuff like that, that kind of attention to detail, which is fun, because if you're a fan and you notice those types of things, that's great. And if you don't, that's okay too. It's just it's there mainly for the filmmakers to enjoy it, and then for the folks who understand the wink and a nod, that's great. So I think it's terrific for all that. That's it. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. It was some of the best action I've had in a long time. So sadly, that has not crossed over of women throwing their clothes off to say, oh, that's got it. So it doesn't translate, unfortunately. So, but I do have a lot of restraining orders though, because I tried a couple times, but it doesn't work. So.
They're not fans of My Little Unis or whatever the song.
Exactly. That's My Tiny Uni. My Tiny Uni.
They're all making fun of him. That guy was having the worst luck in the first one.
But he also, it's from an acting perspective, he was terrific, because he threw himself into it. Again, that's a tough role for a lot of people to do, is to be, we need you to be stupid. Yeah. Okay. We need you to really be the fool, be made fun of, and just, be an embarrassment. And that sounds like fun. And if you can jump into it, that's great. And it's
he was almost like the Stifler of the group.
Yes. Yes, very much so. Very, very much so. So but yeah, there's so much that folks can do. And again, it doesn't matter the subject. You could again, I keep going back to Radzinski, but if you saw his Amityville movie,
yes,
Amityville Christmas Vacation,
won Best Picture too on the Chainsaw.
It did, and it's how cool is that? To walk around the mall with a ghost, but you have your arm out here because nobody else can see it. It's like that's great.
And pushing in the swing and just
exactly. That's terrific. I think that's great. So there's a lot to be said for that type of stuff. So the world needs more laughter. So absolutely, go out and be silly. Go out and do stupid things and film them. And that it doesn't have to be like the jackass stuff, but
not that stupid.
Yeah, just it's they said never go full retard. But it's
you never go full retard, boy.
Yeah, exactly. So but have fun, because people will enjoy it. It's
but anyway,
so you get in trouble with that stuff nowadays.
I don't want to get canceled.
Exactly. But it's weird. Some of the content that's out there talking about this, it's like YouTube. I subscribe to YouTube channels that I have no idea why, but they're fun to watch these videos, and some of them are just silly stuff. So I'm here, we're sitting on the couch, and there's a lady in Scotland who all she does is she talks about what she bought at her grocery store, puts it all out and says how much she spent on it, and does little recipes on that. And she has, I don't know, 500,000 followers and stuff like this. It's like, okay, well, you know what? The accent's fun to listen to. This is, I don't, she does 10-minute videos, 8-minute videos. So you're not sitting there for an hour and a half thinking of what. It's like, there are worse things to watch. Okay, yeah, let's see what she's buying. Okay, I'm very curious about that. Okay, wow,
what's she buying today?
It's exactly so. It's so there's stuff like that you would think, well, who's going to watch all this kind of stuff? But yeah, okay, and again, pick a subject. What is it? You want a diet? Okay, there's 8 billion videos on what kind of diets you can do. If you want to learn how to perform brain surgery, okay, well, there's a bunch of those on how to do that. So it's if you are inclined to make content, enjoy it.
Yeah. In the future, for Duke, should there be any more? Is there any particular weapon you would like to see Duke pull out of his portal of weapons?
They've done the laser eyes a couple of times. So what would be interesting? What would be interesting for them to do? I can picture Duke, although they can't lift his, they'd have to make something to be able to lift his tail, where in essence he would shit out a torpedo and blow up a ship or something like that. That would be cool, but I think that would be very expensive to film as well. So I don't know if
If
that's
the
coming
budget
in.
allows.
Exactly. So I don't know if Carousel 4 will be able to do that, but we can crowdsource that though. We just need $47 million to be able to do all of that.
We can do it.
Exactly.
We'll just start now.
Give us all your Pepsi points, and we'll put them all together in a bin. That would be fun. But Steve's had such a good imagination with all of that I'm trying to think if there's anything else that would be interesting for him to use. That would just kind of be out there. But no, I mean he's got the garroting wire. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that Duke has used, which has been terrific. But yes,
it's interesting.
But he
just pulls them out of nowhere too. It's fun.
Yes.
Like, what is these portable weapons?
But he's never shot something out his ass. So that would be so Steve, if you're listening, we need Duke to shoot something out his ass. That'll
even
be
if he can't do a rocket, something
some sort of projectile that would cause a mess. So
some sort of shit tile,
We'll have to think about that. So
let's hashtag everybody shit tile. Shit tile. So that would be fun.
We'll have to see what we could do with that. So, but yeah, I think that one would be fun. Okay, I've got all kinds of images going on in my head now, but that one would be fun to do. Interesting, very very interesting. We see, and then he could say, "Boy, that Mexican food. Wow, that's welcome to Taco Tuesday." That's but yeah,
this just took a turn.
It's
everything happens here, folks. Don't be surprised.
So, but yeah, that would be very very interesting to see. But I look, Duke had a very good character arc. So if there were, sadly, if there were never any other Carousel films, I think Duke had a perfect life as far as that. If they do, I do not want to do Carousel and the Dial of Destiny. So we could pass on that. We don't need to see an aging Duke who has lost everything and
turn back
the
time.
sun's gone. Everybody's gone, and it's just I'm just an old. That's all right. That's something, but nah. So don't need to drag me out to do that again.
It's like it started out okay, and then it kind of I'm just like, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, the first 15 minutes of the movie, I thought the de-aging was quite good. I was impressed with how they did the de-aging on that. It's just you couldn't make him sound like he did at that age, but they could have done so much more with that film if they had to do anything with it, which they shouldn't have. But if they had to do something with it, they could have come up with something that was not so downtrodden on all of that. But that's Marvel and Disney and all of that. Now you can't have Luke Skywalker can't remain the hero for all of his life. Han Solo can't. Indiana Jones can't because the Force is female now. So it's but we'll get in trouble if we go there as well. So I think it's there's something.
Don't get too much of character of sloppy now. What? No black. There's no. It's for fun around here.
Can we make fun of the Muslims? No. What about the Jews? No.
Catholics?
Okay.
Well, depends. Maybe.
I got a million time in a month jokes, but it's yes. No. I'm not a big fan of the whole woke culture that we're in here, but we don't want to turn this into a political thing. So then you'll get demonetized in a heartbeat. So we don't want to do that.
I'm actually not monetized, so fuck it. We can.
All right, well, that's it. We can get back into the whole paranormal and conspiracy stuff. Then that's a talk for another day.
That was a fun show. Yes, we should do that again sometime.
We're coming up on Halloween. I'll be happy to.
We'll do something for Halloween. So.
Paranormal Palooza 2. We will do. That's we'll have a fun time.
Parapalooza Booza 2 or something.
That's exactly. That's it. If then you have to drink, and if you can say it properly, then you haven't drunk it enough. So that's it. So.
Every time you say ghost or spirit, oh shit.
That's it. Drink spirits. That's
me. Wow, there was a spirit. What was funny? I don't know if Cheetah's still here, but when Spookala, Doomsday's Crypt, every time
Yeah.
we said Spookala, we did a show live from Ocala. We took a drink off, and every time we said Spookala, like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're going to wind up falling asleep on the show then, and that's not a good thing.
I swear to drunk, I'm not God.
Exactly.
What was it on South Park? It's like, what seems to be the officer problem?
It's yes, but you need to be careful about that. You don't need alcohol to have fun, kids. Remember that. So,
it does make it more fun. No, I'm just yeah. Drugs are buying, Mr. Mackey. Good old Mr. Mackey from South Park. Like the one where he's like, no, whoever took a dookie in the urinal, and they're all like, he's like, no, it's not funny. Put your butt cheeks up, and they're all just laughing the whole time as he's like describing the whole, in this case, situation.
I like South Park. I think those guys are hysterical, and I like also that they're kind of equal opportunity offenders on things as well, which is very good. That's the way.
Which is everything. You can't say that you haven't been, like they're not in one direction of anything. Everybody and everything is off limits.
Absolutely, yes. So you go, and again, you can tell that even if the stuff doesn't come across as funny, sometimes you can tell that they're laughing their asses off when they wrote it, and that when they performed it, they're having a good time with it. That comes through on things. Seth MacFarlane as well with Family Guy. You can tell he writes this stuff for him, for him. It's for him to laugh at. I mean, and he's a good singer, so he always throws in music. He does stuff like that. It's he does these things because he enjoys them, and that's why you would create the content, because it's something that you're going to enjoy doing. So have fun with it. That always comes back to that. Have fun with it.
Yeah, he would be fun to meet and talk to. He seems like he'd be a very interesting guy.
I would love to sit down with him and just chat. I think he's very intelligent. I think he's he's obviously left leaning in his politics, but still he had Rush Limbaugh on his show a couple times, and and Rush also loved him. It was while at complete opposite ends of the political spectrum, there was an intelligence and a respect, so that you could sit in a room and have fun and laugh at each other. And that's again that we need more of that in the world today, for folks to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I'm sure. I don't know if I brought that story up before. I have on past shows, but sort of speaking of alcohol and stuff, he was supposed to be on the flight that hit the two towers back on September 11th. He was going to be on that plane that hit, but he was drunk at the bar and he missed the flight.
So alcohol saves lives. Okay, so remember that, kids. Alcohol saves lives. So.
Well, and then here I am talking about plane crash. I'm going to be flying to Texas. Tonight's in-flight movie, Final Destination. Next, like when I'm driving down the road, I'll see logs there. It's like, okay, get away from the logs.
This is your captain speaking. Out the right window, you can see the gates of hell opening before us. So please fasten your seatbelts.
Looking out the window. There's something on the way.
Exactly. Did you?
It's tearing the wings apart. See? But
so now Shatner laughs at himself in retrospect, which is good. So he took himself very seriously back in the day, but he's the greatest William Shatner impression guy there is right now. He does his impressions of himself now. So God bless him, 92 or whatever the hell he is.
What is he now? 90 something? Yeah,
he's in his 90s. Yeah, there's still a lot of the old guard left there. Mel Brooks is in his 90s. Dick Van Dyke is in his 90s. You still got a bunch of them that are out there that is still alive and kicking. So that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I saw today. I forget the director's name. There was a director that passed away today. He was like 50 something.
Yes, I did see that. I mean, that was overshadowed by Jimmy Buffett, but
and then Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, it's like dang, like
Yeah, well, that's hey, you know what? Folks are dropping, but all the more reason why you need some happiness and joy in your life. So
And
don't
have fun. Yeah, just
absolutely have the best thing you could do is turn off the news. Don't watch. So that's it. You know, stick to the fun stuff like the House of Horrors podcast. Otherwise, if you're bored, watch the old ones, and if you're still bored, watch them again. So that's it.
we'll just watch them over and over. I watched
Over and
these
over
past
again.
shows too. We did paranormal talk, Fish
Absolutely. Yeah.
carousel. So
Yeah.
some good shows too. What was it like? About almost just under 3 hours or something. The paranormal. I don't know, but it was fun. So
One of the best reviews I had on something, I had I did an audiobook. My first audiobook was called Brain Eater Jones, which was about there were zombies in the world, but they were sentient. They could talk, they could work, and all that as long as they drank alcohol. But the story took place in Prohibition. So if they didn't get alcohol, then they turned into stereotypical zombies eating people and stuff like that. So basically, he wakes up dead as a zombie trying to solve his own murder. So he was, and he sounds a bit like Duke. But it was, I did like, I don't know, 60 characters in that book, and everybody had a different voice. And I had a spreadsheet of everything. I had a great time doing that once. So Steve Kozanowski, another Steve, did that one, and he
all the famous Steves, of course.
yes, he's done a lot of other hard horror books as well, but he I did the audiobook for that, and somebody wrote in and said, you know, I had a long ride that I had to make from wherever it was to wherever it was, but I was very tired, but I listened to your Brain Eater Jones audiobook, and it kept me awake the entire time and engaged. And I credit you with saving my life and not having me crash while I was riding in the car. So yes, it's fun stuff like that when you get good feedback, and when you get shitty feedback too. It's fun to laugh at that. So
it's like, okay, you're insulting me, but you still watched it. Thank you very
exactly.
much.
So thank you. I really appreciate that. So you're
you
saying
can't
you
take it
did
away.
listen.
You watched it, so.
So
just go right back at him. Like today was just a crazy day when I was leaving work after my no break all the way till 2:00 shift. I was shopping and I didn't have my vest. I had my bags, like no name tag, ready to go. But I still have my vest. Even if I took my vest off, I have a blue shirt on and stuff. But so I got a bag in my hand and I'm picking out my traveling stuff. I was seeing what was in the little travel kit for the plane and everything. And I hear hello, hello, but I'm not looking at it. It's in the aisle away from me. And plus I'm not on the clock. I'm like, I'm doing my shopping. What are you helloing me for? Person comes over and taps on my arm. And was like, you hear me? And I'm got a question. I go, I'm not on the clock. I'm shopping. Or say you're not paying attention. I'm like, I have no need to. And they're like, I said, I know there's someone down there who can help you. And it's saying how the Walmart stupidity. I almost felt like saying, well, you're shopping here. What's that make you? Like, and then someone
customer is always right, no matter how stupid they are, though.
I guess. And then another one was saying something, and I said, I'm not on the clock. And she goes, well, you should take your vest off. Like, whoa, I don't tell you what to do.
Buy me dinner first. Come on, please.
I should have just been like, well, then I got to take my shirt off too. We'll just go full Monty here. How's that?
I'm spoken for. You can't do that.
Oh man, people just, I don't get people sometimes, so whatever. I mean, I'm still polite to them and stuff. I've had people cuss me out. I'm just like, have a good day. Mm-hmm. That just makes it matter. That just makes it matter. When you say have a good day, it's like,
yeah, that describes about 15 years of my first marriage. Actually, was that's her yelling and me just not really reacting to it, and so it just drove her crazy. So
just nod and smile. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, there's like some show or movie like she was always nagging. It was just like, mm-hmm. Yes. I can't remember what it was. It's like an old TV show or a movie or something, but she would just like nag him all the time. He's just like, yes, dear.
That's it. That was a hell I lived through, but it trained me for my murderous skills that I had to do later in life. But
just like rehearse what was in your mind, your motivation.
Well, let me ask you something. Now that you are a IMDb credited actor and have multiple productions under your belt, how do you approach it? So how do you so when you're on there and you've got to do a scene and they're asking you to be whatever the emotion is, how do you approach that? So if somebody said, I need you to be angry, or I need you to be sad, or I need you to be, do you think of stuff that makes you feel that way? Or do you put yourself in the character? Talk to me about your acting process. Tell me what your procedure is.
I mean, I could probably, if it's a sad scene, I could probably just think of depressing things or anything in the past. And I can pretty much make myself cry on cue if I want. I'm pretty good at it. I did a scene where I was a ghost in high school. I was a kid that was playing a game with a gun and ended up killing himself and crying. Like, I was always crying like it was a game. I should be alive. I see all my friends and family, and like, even my drama teacher was like, had tears in her eyes. She's like, oh my god, that was amazing. But like in The Stalking, I play kind of the nerdy friend with the glasses and scientific. There's like a whole lab scene. I'm like, yes, the chemical combination, and I have to like be all intelligent and memorize the lines. And it was funny. Like I pretty much had my lines memorized, and of course we get our takes, and then each person has to be filmed for the, the close-ups and everything edited together. Right. It's a very big process. It's a continuous process. Like I had it the first couple times. It's funny because I was even saying the lines before. Of course we had our bloopers. We had some good times laughing too. Like I've mentioned it before. Jada, who played my friend, she thought it was funny too. Like we would love to see all of our bloopers on there.
Yeah.
She had to say creepy, and she accidentally goes queepy. And I go, what are you, Mike Tyson? Oh yeah, that was queepy. Like just having so much fun. And our quote, I'm not going to ruin it, but simple Halloween costumes were not simple. We were, I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, but we had fun though. I'll admit I was the first one to bump and trip over something, but I mean, stuff happens on set. You never know what's going to happen, but it's fun regardless of what it is, and it's a learning experience, and just have fun with it. And no matter how many takes we got it. And as long as, like, each person, when they say their line after you're being filmed, like, as long as the lines are similar, close enough so they can say theirs, it doesn't matter. But it was funny because each time I was saying it was starting to get worse. I mean, like, they knew the last word, to go ahead, and the Marks and Jeff are like, well, we already got theirs. We're just getting their lines anyway. It doesn't matter. But it was funny because it was good, and then it just decreased. We were like joking around how it was decreasingly forgetting the line. Because I kept saying it so many times. I was talking about this chemical combination, blah blah blah. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to say too much, but it was interesting. And that Jeff wrote, and it's like, yeah, thank you, Jeff Kirkendall, for writing that scientific scene there. That was fun. I couldn't imagine like some of these science fiction shows, or when they have to like talk about quantum physics and all this
technobabble. Yes, it's
all the technobabble. I can just imagine how that is.
I did a medical narration once for so when the doctors get briefed on a new drug, so they do videos of that. And so there's a narrator who has to do that. And it is very dry because you're literally reading charts for stuff. So it's, you need to titrate the hydrochlorothiazide to 0.3 milliliters over that. And then you're going to do this. And the next step you're going, and it's 5 hours of that kind of, a word that has 87 letters in it and 14 syllables that you got to keep doing it over and over again. But those are all skills that you have to do. The couple of things I've done on set, one of the first films I did was a film called Bullseye, which was a parody of 1930s gangster kind of movies. Again, playing a detective who sounded a bit like Duke.
Duke's been around.
He's been around. He started out as Officer Weathers first, which was in a Sherlock Holmes weekly radio play that I was involved with for a few years, called The Watson Files, which was very good, actually. But Strobe Studios, if they're still around, I don't know if they are, but in Bullseye, the final scene is I get stabbed. Now, again, independent film, we don't have a lot of money, so we got 2 blood bags. You better get it right to do this, and you got to hit it the right spot, and you needed a knife that was sharp enough to break the blood bag. So I had a piece of wood under my chest, under the blood bag, so that you could really go down on it. And the blood was all of this, sugary, molassesy, really nasty stuff. And we were filming in an old barn. And it was a cold night. So in the barn, it was warm because we had all the lights and the bugs were everywhere. So I'm lying on the ground with literal liquid sugar all over me. And the bugs, I'm hearing them, they're crawling up at my ears, getting to the sugar that's now on my face, going, help me, because they're stuck, in this amber now where they're going to be trapped on me forever. So
it's like Jurassic Park, millions of years. Called
exactly. So that's the fun of filmmaking, guys, that you could do, which is why it's much safer to be a voice actor, because I don't have to deal with any of that stuff anymore. But it's a lot of fun. I do much prefer voice acting because hell, look at me. How many parts could I play? I mean, typically I'll be a cop or a crook, which I'm still actually ironically am most of the time. But it's with voice, you can be a unicorn, you can be a ventriloquist dummy, you can be 1,000 other things. And I don't have to worry about memorizing lines. I don't have to worry about, well, where am I standing? Okay, when do I move? How do I, hitting marks and things like that, or understanding, just what to do in the background when I'm not supposed to be doing anything. So I don't have to worry about any of that. So it's I'll stick with the voice side there, and you go conquer stage and screen, and I'll
just running in the woods. Yeah, that's always fun. So yeah, I'll deal with that, I guess. Somebody has to do it,
Absolutely. So it's yes, and if they want you to do a nude scene, make sure you charge them extra. That's the key thing. So
yeah, lots of extra. Yeah, it might take
lots of extra. So. And if they tell you that the audition tape is just for their private collection, it's not. I can tell you it's not. So it's so don't go to those sites and look up my name, because you don't want to see any of that. So shame on that.
We're just gonna send this tape off to producers, and if they like it, they'll start the.
Yeah. So yes. So that's all right. So it's yes, I will. Sadly, for the now 7 million people out there watching, I do not have an OnlyFans page, and while I've considered opening one up, I was told no, that would not be a good thing.
Well, so. I'm gonna do an Only funny.
Only there you go. See,
I have an OF page. There we go.
Yeah, that'll work.
Trick people be like, yeah, you should check out my OF page. Yeah, you got OnlyFans? No, Only Funny. What are you talking about? It says OnlyFans.
OnlyFans wrote me a letter and said, "Look, even we have standards. No, we're not taking you." So that was it for that. So sadly, I'll have to stimulate you with my voice only. So and that's probably a much better thing. So. But yeah.
Jose says we're here but working.
That's okay. As long as you're there, that's the important thing. Good.
Very, very good. On his show too. So 8 Questions with Patrick.
Yes, I've been with him.
That's right. So we are all good friends here. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's a tight-knit community out here. So and for the now 9 million people who are watching, we really appreciate your time.
It's just getting up there. We're topping the charts there.
We're going. Actually, you know what? Carousel went viral on Twitter a couple of times. One, because somebody on Tubi did a freeze frame, and you can see that Duke actually wasn't driving the car and ran over a real kid, and so that blew up in that. And Steve just said something. For some reason, we've gone viral in Brazil. Carousel has gone viral in Brazil. I do not know why, but that's pretty cool. So if I could rattle things out in Portuguese, I would, but unfortunately I can't. So that's good. We love you too. We love you.
Thank you. I don't know which Steve you mean, but thank you. We'll both thank you there.
just makes it easy that way. See, you don't even have to worry. That's
it's you're the best guest, because people can just compliment us both. I'll just take it as a compliment.
I'm going to do the same thing anyway. So that's all good. But yeah, that's good.
What's funny is you were saying about how Carousel became popular in Brazil. I know Mark Polonia's movies, some of the shark movies, are big in Japan. So I'm like, I wonder how they're going to deal with Killer Plans. That'll be interesting to see how that picks up. I don't know.
Well, I'm waiting for the now that they've dumped the radioactive water from Fukushima into the water. I am waiting for the first. I mean, that's how all the Godzilla movies started. But I'm waiting for the next, Fukushima shark
yeah.
movie to come out. So, and if anybody does that, don't steal my idea, or at least give me a part in it. So,
There's something coming out like a rock shark. I forget what it is. I saw some sort of Indiegogo. It's almost like a Godzilla thing or a kaiju, but it's like guitar shark. I can't even remember, but it's weird. It looks like a giant shark with a guitar or something on it.
Oh, I did see that. I did see that. Yes, that it was. Yes, I can't remember the name of it, but I did see that. And the only thing, for the folks who are of a certain age, they will remember a cartoon named Jabberjaw. And Jabberjaw was back in the 60s. Everybody was in a band, whether it was Josie and the Pussycats, or any of the cartoons from back then. So Jabberjaw was in a rock band. It was, all these beatnik teenagers and then him, the shark, in the background. So that's the only thing I could think of was Jabberjaw. See, again, so that's one of those things where I find that funny. Nobody else out of the 9.5 million find that funny, but I found that funny. And that's why I say those things. See? So as long as you keep yourself happy, that's all you need to worry about.
That's all that matters. So let's say it looks like we're coming up to an hour and 20 minutes. I know you said an hour and 50.
Yeah, I gotta
had to get going. So, and I gotta finish getting ready. And but of course we'll have you back. And like you said, maybe around Halloween we'll do another paranormal show.
I'll have fun talking paranormal stuff again. You pick a subject and we'll get into it. And again, we're both actors, so if the audience wants to hear about something we have no idea about, well, we're just gonna fake it. So that's
if we don't know it, we just act like we do.
Act like we know it. That's it. And first, if you can fake sincerity, you're in. That's it. That's what that's all about. But Steve, as always, I really appreciate the time for you today that you have me on. It's always a joy to be on your show. I look forward to meeting your new co-host.
I guess I thought he was going to come in late, but I guess he got busy. So unfortunately,
okay. Look,
but he'll be on the next show. So yeah,
and I'll be watching, and all 11.6 million of you now. Please continue to watch. And check out. Please go and get Carousel. All three of the movies. Go check out Shingles as well. You're welcome, Mom. My pleasure. And buy the physical media, whether it's Steve Rudzinski and SteveBuster.com, or whether it's anybody that you like. That you found, if you're enjoying their film,
keeps it going and helping to do more. So
exactly, buy the DVD, buy everything, buy whatever else it is, because that's thank you. That's what this is all about. So if you want to keep getting content from these guys who have fun brains and actually have the courage to put their money where their mouth is and put these things on film for folks like us to enjoy, that's great. Reward them with your money. That's the best thing you can do for all of these folks. And the same thing for the 12 million of you who are watching this. Keep this going. Had I known Steve wasn't monetizing, that's the problem. So see, he kind of probably retired with the audience we have tonight, but it's sucks to be you.
I enjoy it too much to retire. So House of Horrors is going to go on for as long as
a true professional. So, but this is always fun, and I would love to come back and we can do a paranormal or do whatever it is that you want to do. And again, we can pick a subject and let the audience decide. That's all fine. We can riff on whatever it is. But again, thank you very much. If any of you are interested in what I do, Google my name. There's no other Steve Rimpici out there. So you'll find all my stuff. stevesvoiceovers.com is also my website. You'll see on there just some stuff from on voiceover. You'll see, if you are curious about what it is, you'll see I have a bunch of different demos. There's an animation demo, a commercial demo, a few other types of demos for different genres, where you can see the different types of things you have to do if you're interested in the business at all. of what it is. And then all my links and stuff are on there as well. And you can email me or whatever you want to do. That's all fine. So I'm interactive with all your folks. But as I am over 50, I do not have Instagram or TikTok or any of that other crap you kids are using nowadays. So YouTube is about as strong as I get here on social media. I am on Twitter at Steve's VO. But outside of that, not too much.
Actually, you mean X now. It's not Twitter. It's X.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. See that? That's just another
I
sign.
think it's so dumb.
Yes. So if you want to see me on X, again, OnlyFans turned me down. So I do not do X stuff. So
Well, no, this looks like a little adult symbol too. It's like, no, it's not an adult app on my phone. I promise. It's Twitter.
yes, exactly. I swear. I've never seen that before. And she told me she was 18. But anyway, let's on that note, we probably end there. So
yeah, that's a good way to end it, I think. Or on Twitter. Yes. Okay.
Exactly. Stephen, thank you again. I really appreciate it. So to everybody on YouTube and the rest of you on Facebook, and again, 14 we just hit. Very good. So again, thanks. And to your producer, your executive producer, Mom, thank you for coming as well. So I appreciate that too. And all of the other guys I've seen out here as well.
Patrick, Hobbs, Katie.
Yeah. Good seeing familiar names too. So again, guys, thank you so much for it. Stephen, anytime you want me back, again, I'm available. Bar mitzvahs, whatever you need, I'll work cheap. So it's
weddings, funerals, yeah.
Exactly.
Liven up the funeral. Right.
There you go.
I gotta get ready myself to pack up. So thanks again. All right. And we'll see you soon.
You guys be well. Take it easy.
Bye. All right, and we'll see everybody next week, 8:00. Again, and I'm sure Echo will be back. All right, have a good night.